I'll make a motion to. All right, is there a second? Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Then we've got the, special meeting that we had in April, Parks Committee meeting, to formally recommend city council passage of the master plan. You see those minutes attached as well. And the motion that we approve those as presented.
I move that the minutes be accepted or approved as press printed.
All right. We have a motion to the second. All right. We have a second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right. So those stand approved. Thank you very much. Next, Keith, you want to pick up with the Association of Club reports? Do we have any?
We have none.
Have none tonight? Okay. Then that leads us right into the director's report. There's a lot of stuff going on, a lot of stuff we need to talk about. So Keith, you lead us through that.
Yeah, one thing that I have added this month that I will start implementing each month is the director's report, not just being the director coming and speaking on what's been going on, but also put that in writing for you guys as well so that you can kind of see just a summary of everything or snapshot of some of the things that we did in April. And then I've also been looking at possibly we may build on this as well, some different things. So I just want to keep you guys informed of everything that's going on. This is something that we actually did years and years ago. As she enters now, I think that Amanda's probably the only one that was part of the committee back whenever we used to do this. And it kind of just, fell away. Y'all know Chris. Chris was a talker, so he just would, start telling everything. But for me, I have to have it in writing a little bit or I'll forget what all I'm talking about. So I'm not going to read all this to you. I mean, you can look at all that yourself. But just a couple of things. As Richard said, the master plan is something that, we've been working on for over 2 years. Having that adopted and now to where we can start looking at moving forward and implementing those things as they become available. The softball tournament that we hosted on April 27th, I just highlight that because it was a situation that day where most parks around us did not play. There was a lot of rain in the night before. And so I don't know of another park right now that's not turf that played other than us that day. And that's something that I just want to highlight to credit our grounds crew on how great of a job they've done the last few years of making this park one that dries very quickly. I mean, we have a reputation because of our flooding for being a very wet park, and Bryant may not be able to play, but we have seen over the last few years that it is very, very rare when we are not able to flip the fields and get them ready to play. So I just want to commend those guys on the work they've done out there. Like I said, not only did we play that day, but they started at 9 a.m. as was scheduled that morning after we had a lot of rain. Our last regular meeting, I believe we were talking about the Mills Pool project to get that replastered. That job is complete, and Mills Pool is ready to open as scheduled on Memorial Day. And then also I wanted to highlight that I have an update actually. So in April, we installed the post for a story walk along Mills Trail with a partnership that we're doing with the library. Actually, now that we're mid-May, that has those, the entire structure has now been installed, and so now we're just waiting on the books to be added from the library. So that is going to be something that I think about once a month. The library's part of this partnership is to provide a book that will be along 24 posts that are on the trail at Mills Park, and so people can walk the trail and read. There'll be children's books. So yeah, that's something we're really excited about this summer, that we're doing with them. But we are handling the infrastructure of the actual, physical posts and what's holding the pages, and then they're actually handling any questions or anything on any of the items on record?
On the pavilion rentals at Mills Park, how's that compare with what we've done?
I think that it's up slightly, but I can pull that to see exactly. I mean, we have seen, not to keep going back 4 years later, but I mean, it's like, you saw growth come back, the first couple of years, but it's still growing. I think people just get more and more common on everything, just getting back in the habits of renting things and going out and doing that. But I have not actually ran that compare, but I know I've looked at a few of our different rentals, and most of them are up slightly year over year right now.
There's a lot going on.
Yeah. And if there's any other questions on that, I'm going to turn it over to our center superintendent, Ebony Scott. She is going to give it's a little bit later. I told you guys that, that March meeting, I think Ebony had just wrapped up basketball season like 3 days earlier, so we were giving her a little bit of time to decompress, and then April, April was, we had the workshop from the master plan, so we're finally getting Ebony in here to give us kind of a recap of our basketball.
So I think, I know most of you in the room, if not, my name is Ebony Scott. Like you said, I've been with the city since 2012, full-time since 2016, when Chris asked me to join his team, after setting up one of his church services. And I was, delighted to, and so I've been the, center superintendent since 2016, and 3 years ago, when our current program left, I asked Keith, could I take on basketball? And, he said yes, so that is how I ended up with, programming in the center, but mostly, basketball. He told me today to talk about really this past season, but I'm going to talk about more than this past season. He told me, because he told me late. And I'm going to hand the sheet out, but basically it's going to show the numbers over the years, over the last few years. Our calls, things like that, facilities that we've used, but, I will say I've enjoyed running basketball these last 3 years. Every year is a challenge. I mean, it's a fun challenge, but, my favorite day is the last day, when teams get their trophy. And every Monday, how's your basketball? I was like, it's good, man. It's all right. And then the last one, he's like, I'm glad it's over with. Those, I think, 10 to 12 hour Saturdays just, get really long and get worn out. I will say, and I'm not tooting my own horn by any means, but, since the IC takeover, basketball has improved 47%, in the community. One of the highest growing youth sports, that we have here in Bryan. And like I said, I really do enjoy doing it. We probably see an average of about, I'd say 1,500 people walk through our doors. Last year, we had 640 kids participate. Now, the year before, we had 765. But we didn't advertise because we normally meet with the schools and stuff prior to ending registration. So we already knew what facilities we had, so we had to cut registration, and we didn't advertise in the school. So after registration closed, we probably got another 150 calls saying we missed the deadline, and we were just like, sorry, try again next year, mid-season we got called, do you have another spot? And so that's where you will notice, the decrease, and we hate Chris, I mean, he knows that I hate to turn anybody down, I'm just like, no, we're not gonna turn anybody, we're not gonna turn anybody down, but, we had to deal with that situation this year. So thankful for our coaches, we had, 76 teams this past season with 65 volunteer coaches. A lot of those, coaches coach multiple teams if they wanna coach their kids. We have, parents, we have high school principals, elementary principals, high school coaches, student athletes that volunteer to coach for us. And then in the end, if we are lacking, I call friends. I say, you owe me a favor. I need you to coach second grade girls team. Last year I had to coach first and second grade girls team, while running the league. And I mean, it was good. I was just glad I didn't have to coach one this year. We had enough. But, also, I'm grateful for the partnerships in the community with the, different, elementary schools and, Principal Harris at the middle school, his son was playing fifth grade, he said, I'll give you my gym. I said, you can have whatever you want to, so those are the, you can have whatever you want if we can use your gym. And so we were able, and we're grateful for those partnerships, here in the community. A lot of our student, athletes that coach will use the volunteer hours for college applications, for high school, different things like that, for community service. And I really think that that's it. Again, I have enjoyed it. Like I said, the hardest thing is just being here on, 10 to 12 hours on the weekend. We start opening registration, I believe, in September. And we run our draft in November, and then from there, it's just, every day, building the schedule, building the practice schedule, things like that. We usually in the first or second week. So, that is all. I'm gonna pass out the sheet. It's just gonna show the numbers over the 6 last 6 years. I will say in this, I also, because I didn't know how far we want to go into discussion or what questions you guys may ask, I also put on here about our registration fee, which prior to COVID was $75, because we also took like $1 gate, or you could donate a canned good to the senior center. Now we're at $85. We've only went up $10. Calling around to some different, parks and rec, I did notice that a lot of parks and rec don't run youth basketball. So that was hard to find that information, and the ones that do are quite a bit higher, and they don't offer as much. So when we started, we offered just a t-shirt, spring t-shirt, you wear over. Couple of years we went with just a reversible mesh. Last year was the first year we did a full, I would say, high school, any team jersey. And we had a sponsor, but the department, ate a lot of that money. Along with the $85 registration, we offer a multi-child discount, we offer a member discount, and every volunteer coach gets their $85 back if they have a child playing. So that's just an incentive. Hey, if you coach, we can give you money back if you coach. But that is just one of the incentives that we have used over the last several years. I think we tried maybe didn't we try maybe like a little family membership or something during the season, but we found, that the $85 reimbursement for the $85 works best. And then at the bottom, I just listed, I know there's been some questions about, capping numbers and the facilities that we use. And again, no shade, no anything. I'm so grateful for the facility that we've used over the past, but this year we were limited to only, Hurricane Creek Elementary. We used the junior high like 2 nights a week. Mr. Harris did allow for like his team and for practice, so we used that gym only on game days with the older kids. And, I believe that was it. Now, when we originally started, Keith reminded me of this, we never used Bishop for any practices. Therefore, we could leave Bishop open for members. I'm sure Lynn can tell you he's coming here. We don't have any court space available. So, you find members, saying, well, I'm paying this money, different things like that. So here the last couple of years, Whereas last year, we tried to leave Bishop open like Wednesdays and Fridays, but then we had to use those for practice nights as well. So, that's another reason why, so, anyway.
Yeah, and I'm sure there's gonna be questions for Ebony. I want to, say a couple things. One, if you, on your agenda, you'll notice that, our first item on new business is to discuss a subcommittee. A lot of these challenges that we're facing, these are things we've talked about before. And so, these are the things that Ebony's talking about are things that we would like to, if you pass that on new business tonight, those would be things that we would like for that subcommittee to work on and help us with as we move forward. It's a great problem to have. I mean, the issue is that, our league is very, very popular. Our league is and that's a testament to the job that Ebony has done. And even the little things that, like she said, calling in favors to get coaches. I have supervised the director of basketball for 8 years. I supervised Ebony the last 4 years as the director of basketball. Before Ebony took over the league, we had multiple teams that were drafted that those 7 or 8 parents of those kids that got drafted got a phone call, hey, your kid's been drafted to a team that doesn't have a coach. Someone's gonna have to step up and coach. I don't think that's happened one time since Ebony's been running the league. And I think that little things like that matter, and that's why our league is as successful as it is, because it's easy to say, well, we're just not gonna draft till we get enough coaches. Well, then all of a sudden, you have a tight schedule. You've got games already set. You've got referees already, so it's easy to say that, but it's really hard to implement that. But I also think it's very unfair for a child to be drafted to a team that doesn't have a coach yet, and now all of a sudden, so that was something that was a struggle for me, and I am so grateful that, and like she said, she called in a lot of favors, she's coached the team herself, but I think that little things like that matter, because I know that was very hard for parents when they hear that their kid got drafted to a team that doesn't even have a coach. Well, how'd they get drafted? And so, so I think that, there's been some small things like that that have really helped to make our league great, and we don't want to limit that. We don't want to turn kids away. So that's where, as we get to that, I don't want to jump ahead, but I didn't want us to get too far into the details with Ebony on the questions. When we do have plans for doing that with a subcommittee that's going to work for the next.
You mentioned that about members. Do members get preference, or is it just strictly first come, first served?
During basketball season? During basketball season, it is,
As in to sign up to play, like if I'm a member and I sign my kid up, so it's first come. No, mine have not played.
No,
Always
they
want sometimes.
we just give them a discount, so if they are already in the park,
As long as they sign up before the deadline.
before the deadline.
And we did not, it did not close before. It was not like if you went to register during the registration period, oh, sorry, we're already full.
Right.
It was that every year we take late registrations, and this year we just couldn't. Like, if you did not get registered during the time frame, you did not, by that point, we were full, and we had to. So, losing Collegeville hurt a lot. I mean, we used Collegeville a lot, and so, and the elementary schools are doing their archery now. That's cut into the space that we get, because they do a lot of that in their gym space in the evenings, and so, there's challenges. I mean, so, and that's where we'd always turn to the committee for help.
Well, can I say that I'm very, very impressed with the quality of the uniform.
The uniforms are great.
When my kids started at like 4.5, 5 playing basketball here, it was the t-shirts. And I mean, this year, got little shorts and jerseys and everything like that.
Hey, y'all are
out there.
played in that,
Yeah.
and then my grandson, he's the first time ever.
It was an interesting reversal.
Looks like the 1970s.
It was like when you turned it inside out, like half of it came with you, and then you had to like stuff it back in.
I'm pretty sure it was the other
And
time.
it'll be up 20 years, you know?
Yeah, it was a step above just the plain top, you know, that you put on that doesn't have a number on it for, you know, for school balls to have different colors, but yeah, no. So, yes, it's come a long way.
Yeah, and like Ebony said, we have raised registration once in the last 8 years. That was coming out of COVID, and that wasn't necessarily that was to wash the amount of money that we used to get for gate. So we basically said, we're not gonna take gate anymore, we're just gonna roll it in the registration. And so we kind of ran the calculations and said, if we raise registration $10 a kid, that'll cover.
Nobody has to pay gate. No one has to pay gate. Grandparents, nobody.
I'm pretty good at walk-in time seat.
Because you know how many times I've cleaned up $1. Oh, yeah, because it's like, oh, shoot, we gotta have it all.
We use them right middle school. Great, too, yeah, it wasn't near as loud, so.
That was a good report. When I go over there and watch my granddaughter play, and sometimes take for granted all the stuff that goes on behind the scenes to make it all run well. One question I had is there any provision for providing any scholarships, if you will, for kids that just can't afford to play? I'm not trying to create something here, but I'm just wondering if that's something that somebody kind of think about and maybe get a sponsor.
I don't feel my head out. So, we do not currently. I do have, Jordan O'Rourke is working on setting up a meeting with me and the Impact One Foundation. They do, and so our basketball league would be something there that we would look at. But I think that in those instances, I lean on using an organization like that who handles the decision-making, so that we're not in the position of going, oh, yes, we're gonna award this child, they do that for a profession. So we are actually talking with.
It may, and I don't know how this would look, but it may be worthwhile to look into how we can direct people that might be interested in doing that, once they knew there was a need, direct them to Impact. Because my sense is, there's a lot of people, I'm sure, that would like their kids to play, but just can't afford it. To the extent that we can, if we can facilitate that. It sounds like that's the
Yes.
Great.
That we are looking at parts wide. If there's not any other questions, I do want to address one last thing in the director's report pertaining to Ebony, and basketball. As she mentioned, a hard part of that is the, 10, 12-hour days during the weekends on Saturday running basketball league. It is also difficult for us as a department when, Ebony has multiple jobs here. She is not just the basketball director, she is the superintendent of that facility. And so when that person is up here running a basketball league 10 to 12-hour days, it's difficult for us. One, we're either asking her to work 50, 60-hour weeks, or, hey, I need you, let's try to find a day during the week to take off. And that's what we would do. We would find ways to flex her out and give her some breaks. Obviously, that's not ideal for us. And so I think, me and Ebony started working on this about, I think I became interim. Not that Chris wouldn't have supported it, he's all on board with it as well, but it was right whenever basketball ended, so we started talking about how do we, give Ebony some help there. And so what we are currently doing is, within her division of our parks department, we're doing a small restructure of her staff. She has had an assistant superintendent for the last few years. It's more of a nights and weekends manager. We are restructuring that position to be more programming focused, to allow us to utilize part-timers a little bit better as far as empowering some of our more experienced ones, giving them a little bit of a pay raise if they are a shift leader on duty, and using that full-time position to be more programming based. And so with that, position will actually go to city council at the end of this month, for approval of that job description change. And so at that point, and it technically will be vacant at the end of the month as well. Ebony's assistant has, completed her master's program in another field, and she is looking at moving more into her career. She's gonna stay with us for a little while during this time, but as a part-timer while she works to, you know, get started with her actual career field. So Candace has been very, gracious to kind of help us with the transition as we do that. I think it's gonna work out really well. But, once we take that, to council to approve that job description and unfreeze the position, we'll start looking for a, programmer to work with Ebony, and hopefully be able to take some of those hours away on the weekend, where it will still be Ebony's lead, but we will have someone else that can, you know, handle some of the frontline things, and not ask all of that to be put. So I just wanted to make that aware.
So you're not actually adding a position.
We are not.
Restriction.
No, we're not adding. Unfortunately, with our budget situation, we cannot add any positions
Well,
right
I
now. But-
couldn't gather that, but I'm
So,
just making
yeah.
sure. I
So
have
we,
that.
yes, but we're finding creative ways to try to utilize those positions better.
Gotcha.
So,
In that same sense, you're also already aware of a vacancy though that you're gonna have.
Yes.
So, yeah, kind of balance.
Good.
but we're excited about those changes and also, and offering some help to Ebony during that time. Yes. She'll still be making the decisions, but, you know, we'll get her some support though.
All right. Any public comments as we move through our agenda? If not, we will move on to any old business. I don't have any, do you? New business, we got a little bit of that.
Yeah, new business, we have a lot of new business. So first, on that, while we're still talking about the basketball, I would like to, request that we form a subcommittee for future basketball sustainability and growth. We, with our bylaws, we can form subcommittees that are, have a timeline, and so ideally, we would form the committee with 3 members that will work with myself and with Ebony, and in August, bring back a report of some of the things that Ebony's mentioned and some of our challenges that we face to do that. So if we have.
Yeah, we've talked about this, and I'd like to appoint, if they're willing to serve, Cody and Lynn and Amanda to serve on that subcommittee. And, I think it's like.
I'm not on it, we're good.
I was like, wait,
Yeah, the people that miss meetings are in trouble.
I know.
But I think,
Jason got lucky.
yeah, this is good for what we've already talked about with the basketball program, but I think there's opportunities too, to look at some areas in other aspects of the park operation that probably need to address. And one of those that, I think that we can communicate some, how shall I put this, some expectations that we have for the participants and the coaches and the parents and the officials, anybody who uses the Bryant Parks, we have, you know, we want to put in place, here's how we can, here's some behaviors that are expected. Occasionally, there's incidents that come up that rise to a level that they never should. And I think that we would be well to have in place some expectations that we communicate to parents and everybody that participates, that there's certain codes of conduct and behaviors that we expect people to adhere to and enforce. I think that's just being smart, and I think that's one of the issues. You see the description of the subcommittee, it kind of leaves it open to add other things, but I'd like to see us look at that as well, and I think that's just a good opportunity to communicate on a positive level, you know, some messages for kids and everybody throughout the park system. So that's one of the things.
That way you can get escorted out. They told you up front, why are you gonna be escorted? Yes, you said.
Well, To let people, know that, so that's one of the things, but if you all are willing to serve on that committee, thank you very much. We put what's the 3 months, that 4 months, I think that's 3 months, the August timeline, mainly to kind of get things in place, recommendations in place for the season really starts. Get into it, a little more time than might be needed to get be flexible, but, I appreciate y'all doing on that, you all can get together and figure
We
out.
need a motion.
Yeah. I would entertain a motion that we appoint a subcommittee of Cody, Chris, Lynn Farmer, and Jolly, to address the sustainability of the basketball program and other areas as needed. Do I have a motion? We have a motion, do I have a second? Okay, any other discussion? Yes, I am.
The motion's for other people, not on it.
We take a vote,
You just wait until you,
We'll get one for it.
it's coming, I'm already coming up with something. All those in favor? Any opposed? That's 3 more committees with one. Okay, the next item is item 6, equipment to be sold on GovDeals.com.
Yes.
Or whatever it is.
And I sent some, I included the list there. These are items that are, do not run anymore, or if they do run, they do not run very well. This has built up over a while. I mean, you can see that we have a tractor that was replaced in 2018. It's in the tractor sat there. My only explanation for why we haven't brought any and sold them before then is that we have them fenced in, they're sitting back there, but, we've never had an account on GovDeals before. It was always a situation where in the past, if we wanted to sell something, I can't just turn around and sell it to Renee. There's a process we have to go through, with city policy to do that. And previously for that, it was that we would have to reach out to PD and ask them to sell it for us on their GovDeals. And it was just you're making it difficult. We feel bad reaching out to them, asking them to come and look at it and put all the information in. So we have created our own account, and so we can handle all this in-house now. And so, although this feels like a lot, it is, it has been building up for a while of items there. None of them are being used anymore. I have talked with Joy about, because of our budget limitations right now and the need that we still have for a backhoe or a skid steer once we don't operate, being able to put anything that we sell from this, being able to put that aside into a fund that we can use to get a new piece of equipment. We'll probably have to sell all this to get one new piece of equipment, but something that we need that would serve purpose. But the majority of these have already been replaced, though. But I am asking for a recommendation to take this to council.
You need that form of motion. All right.
Make a motion that we take this to council at the end of the month. The equipment.
I second that motion.
We have a motion and a second, all in favor, say aye.
Sorry.
How do y'all determine cost on how much? I would assume since it's going on auction, y'all would put a minimum in there and then people will bid it out. How do y'all determine on each cost on each individual?
We will usually just kind of look around. You can go on there and see what other people are putting stuff in as. We also have this is stuff that we're kind of learning because we just for the first time had our own account, but we also have an account manager that will help us when, yes. I talked to PD because they do it a lot, and they have said like, hey, I mean, obviously you don't want to put something down there for $10 or whatever, but it's going to it's up, you choose how long it's on there. You also can choose, I guess, like eBay, you can If it doesn't get above that amount, then,
Yeah.
you know, you don't have to sell it. And so, a lot of times they'll say start low just so you can start getting people looking at it and seeing it. So, but yeah, that's what we would do.
Okay, so we got a motion, second, any more discussion? All in favor, vote again.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
Oh, this is at your house, Keith?
Oh, okay. You can bid on it. Yeah, I said, so, our pickleball courts, which are very popular out at, Millis Park. I have had some questions that have come up, the last few months, and I was talking with Cody, he has had some as well. And so we just decided to bring this here for discussion tonight. But one of the, big questions that we get is, do we allow for those to be rented out or reserved? Up until this point, we have not. It has been first come, first served. And so, but yeah, so I wanted to kind of bring that and talk through that. Our reasons that we have done that up until this point has been, one, they are extremely popular. I think and I'll let Cody speak for who has reached out to him, but, some of the ones that have reached out to me have been because, hey, I don't wanna wait in line. I would rather pay a little bit and reserve it and not have to wait to use it. So that does bring up other things. So yeah, that's some of the reasons why we have decided to do that. But I will let Cody speak as well on some of his.
Yeah, I got some more questions. Shame on me, I haven't been there in a long time. But how many courts do we actually have for pickleball? Four?
And yes,
Outdoor.
yes, I'm sorry, yes.
Yes, it's outdoor.
Thank y'all for clarifying. Yes, we have 4 outdoor courts at Mills.
Fortunately,
Ebony's here tonight. I think we have, 9 there, yeah.
So the people that reached out to me, their biggest thing was having to wait in line or driving all the way over there, getting a group of people, driving over there. It'd already be 3 or 4 games deep, waiting in line. They done went out of the way to get a group of people to come play. So my philosophy was, that's why I asked how many spots, could we just make one court reservable? And then the other 3 first come, first serves. And it gives the chance for the taxpayers and citizens an opportunity to reserve it, other than showing up. I don't know how long a pickleball game lasts, but say it lasts an hour, and you're already 3 deep. But you just spent 4 hours, 3 or 4 hours trying to play. And I think it could be beneficial for us and the city to go off. And I mean, Ebony, how much do you rent a court? I should know this, but how much do you rent a court for at Bishop?
A full court, $50 a court.
So $50 for it, so. I mean,
Pickleball would be less.
right, but how many games, you play 3 games on one court, right?
Pickleball.
Mm-hmm.
Separate.
So, you're looking at a,
Reserve a basketball court for pickleball, for 8 weeks on a Sunday, and that's the price that we give them. It's gonna be $50 an hour, so if they want 2 hours, of course, it's gonna be $100 per rental.
I mean, I think that, we rent the courts here, softball, baseball, are you able to rent the fields anywhere?
Ashley and Alcoa.
Ashley, Alcoa, so, I think if we're getting to the point that they're getting used so much, that it could be a time that we look into, and I'm not saying do all 4 or 2, I'm thinking if you can just reserve one, and the other 3 are first come, first served.
Yeah, and those are things that, system-wise, it's easy for us to do that. I think that one of the challenges becomes, so I'll use the baseball or softball fields as an example. It's gotten better, but I probably, at least once a week, will get a call from someone that's rented a baseball or softball field that calls me and says, hey, I'm not here for my rental and somebody else is using my field. And I have to say, you have a permit, politely go back and then There's times that they have to put me on the phone with them. So I think that's part of the struggle is, like Renee said, is if we do have one that's reserved, I mean, we can put signage out there and say, this one's for reservations only. When you have the other three with a line backing up, they're going to go play. And so it's just how do we monitor it and is there a way to do it without putting a staff member out there? Because staffing someone to just stay out there would be difficult. So that's the challenges. I mean, we've had these discussions internally too. That's some of the challenges, like, oh, well, we could reserve them, but we'll have to figure out how to staff that to control it. Otherwise, they're either gonna, baseball and softball teams over the years have learned to call me. And pickleball people may not, they're gonna call the front desk, and the front desk is gonna say,
And that's one of the same issues we talked about with like the pavilion, specifically at meals. We'll get calls on the weekends where someone has rented it, and all I can say is make sure you have your permit and your receipt. Because most people know that the pavilion, if you aren't there, you can use them without paying. So, like when Keith had mentioned this to me, I was like, well, it kind of feels like the same situation. If I walk up, or if I have a permit and I got a call, like, they're partying over here and I'm scared. Or call maybe non-emergency. Because those are the only solutions we can offer unless a staff member, which on the weekend is typically gonna be a high school or young college-age student to go over and try to facilitate. So that's kind of the problem we ran into with that also.
One thing though, because I'm glad that this was brought up, I think it's something that our community members are facing. I mean, look, obviously during basketball season, it's not really an option because our basketball courts are covered up, but, I would like to look at the possibility of us getting something out, some signage out there on the courts to promote our indoor courts. I wonder how many of our players out there actually don't realize, oh, I could go play pickleball. I want to get a group together and, well, we could just reserve a court there at the center, and it's not outside, and I get, but
I think a lot of people like the outdoor atmosphere.
Yeah. And I don't know, like I said, I don't know if that would, help that or not, whereas if you don't want to wait in line, you want to have a guaranteed court, we could book one for you, because it's $50 an hour, but that's to get 3 of them. If you want to just get one court, it would be $25 an hour, I guess, is what that. So, I mean, it's just like basketball. I guess it's a good problem to have. They're popular and people want to use them, but also we run into,
I mean, I'd be curious what Little Rock and other cities
So,
do for,
Little Rock.
because I'm gonna get all these questions next time I get an email. Like, God, I don't wanna just.
Yeah, no, actually, I do have some. The only place I found that reserves their courts in the area, indoor courts, is North Shore Golf, the driving range, North Shore, North Little Rock. They reserve theirs, after 6 p.m. on the weekends, which would be your peak times, for an hour is $15 an hour. Kendall and Benton is just first come, first serve. Burns in North Little Rock is first come, first serve, and Canis and Little Rock are just first come, first serve. So at least the city-run courts
They're all first.
are all currently first come, first serve. I did speak to Henson Park in Sherwood is the thing. I did speak personally because I'm familiar with the person that oversees those courts in Burns, and she said that is a discussion they are having as well right now, is the possibility of reserving. They also have 12 courts, and so if they end up doing that, they're probably going to look at doing like 4
For the 12.
for reservations. And she did say that the only reason they have not done that currently is because they can't figure out how to staff it. So it's in a lot of ways, it's the same thing, that if they would have done that, but I guess, where their clubhouse is on the other side of Burns Park, which is very large. And so they can't figure out, like, are people gonna have to, come and check in at the clubhouse and then go over there, or they have to set up like a tent or something for an employee there, so. But they are having those same discussions.
Yeah.
I think your sign thing for the indoor is somewhat good because hotter it gets. You still about full?
It's still full out there in the middle of the summer. 100 degrees out there, it's still,
Oh, it's like.
it's a totally different, I don't know about
I don't like
it.
it.
We didn't, no, so we,
Yes, we have much.
We were open lunch.
Yeah, because I go after church league football games in July,
yeah, I thought, yeah.
and we have to,
It's amazing. It really is.
I just wonder what you can do to do.
And I'll
it's a different breed of
As
people.
long as the wind's up.
And it may not help, I mean, you know, if you come by the center during a weekday, before 11, 12 o'clock, those courts are covered up, I mean, like, the central traffic during is more like, you got your pickleballers that come in the morning, and then around lunchtime, the pickleballers transition out, and then the nets get put up, and then we got more of our basketball, volleyball, stuff like that in the afternoon, you know, so it may be the same people that are playing pickleball here in the mornings and then going out and playing, you know, but I do think, because I get that, like, I sympathize more with someone who's got a group together and they're like, hey, we want, it may not be ideal, they may want the outdoor, but if we can offer them something in Bryan and say, you know, if you just want to play, we can provide that, because this time of year, I think we do have some evenings. Once the youth association is, you know, done for the day at 6 o'clock, and I think we do have some evenings that we could provide that as well, so.
Do those other parks that you mentioned that are having the same issue, open play now, do they have indoor facilities with pickleball that they rent out? People can pay to play?
Benton does, I know, trying to think of where it would be in Little Rock or North Little Rock. I'm not positive on those.
So I guess I'm thinking in Burns and these other public city parks, do they have the option that somebody can rent a court inside, not outside, like we have?
Yeah.
Do they have that option available?
I can find out, I'm not sure.
No, I just didn't.
Yeah, I knew that, yeah. And I reached out to Conway, I have not heard back from them, but I do know that there's that private, there's a privately owned pickleball facility in Conway, I think. But they may not have to provide as much.
So we do have them.
Well, that's true, we do have some, yeah, some of
They're promoting it, they
Yeah.
advertise.
I think so.
I think, right now, it's just growing so much that no matter what you do, it's hard to stay in front of it, yeah.
So we do have the option to reserve courts. The question is it convenient for the people at the time they want to play? So there's that. With respect to the reserving of courts, in terms of staffing, I think that's a challenge. I also want to not get into a situation where we're reserving too many of the courts so that people that can't, that just want to play, and they're citizens of Bryan, and to use their parks. I don't want to cover it up with just the people that, and, you know, lock it down, you know, every Thursday night or whatever, people, I think we just, because they do have an option over here.
And one other thing on the, that I have on there as well as additional lines. It has come every time I've reached out to anyone in the pickleball community, they ask me about adding pickleball lines on the tennis courts. Because a lot of times you will see in the evening that the pickleball courts are pretty full and the tennis courts full. I know that when we built those, it was under the intention that the tennis courts were gonna be tennis courts, the pickleball courts were gonna be pickleball courts. I have continued with that, directive so far. And I will say, I go out there a lot of times in the mornings, and there's been times I've been out there that people are playing tennis and no one's playing pickleball. So it's not, I think that the mindset is a little bit like, oh, well, the tennis courts just sit there empty, and the pickleball, but, I mean, the tennis courts are popular and used as well, and so that is why, right now, I have to continue to say, like, hey, you know, I'd like to keep those separate and not add the pickleball lining on the tennis courts, but that is something that if it was made to go that direction, it would alleviate some of that. Now, let's say Renee goes out and wants to play tennis, and there's not a tennis court available because there's a group playing pickleball on a tennis. I mean, that's a struggle that, then you have to start to figure out that was built for a tennis court, and we do have only 2 of those compared to 4
That's all
pickleball.
that's, how many tennis courts? do we have? 2?
Yeah. There are 2 tennis courts and 4 pickleball. But I want y'all to be aware of everything going on there in case you get questions about it. I have said, so far at this point that I'm entertaining the idea of putting pickleball lines on tennis courts. We're keeping those separated. They were built to be that way. That's why there's fencing and everything between them. Also, if you get a question about it, we took the benches out of the pickleball courts. They were tearing up the surface of the court. So, we're currently looking at ways to do that, better. That will still be ADA compliant, but we removed those when we discovered that they were starting to wear on the surface. Fortunately, the builder of the courts has agreed to come back and patch those, but that's why we took the benches out. I got a little, I think, Ebony probably got a lot of complaints at the front desk, but I got a few that first couple of days that they had nowhere to sit, but there are some bleachers outside the courts for them to sit. They just may have to walk a little bit to go to the bleachers, but we felt like, taking care of the courts long-term was more important than that. All right, I didn't mean to get off the reservations. I just wanted to update on those other. And I don't have any, there was no action or anything. I wanted to be sure and get it. And my plan right now would be for us to look at a way to try to promote. Yeah, you got that.
I know.
It's to look at possibly trying to promote our indoor courts a little bit better maybe, and especially this time of year, because I know a lot of people get used to them just not being available with basketball, so maybe we can at least offer that as a solution.
Good problems to have.
Very popular.
All right, item 8, cross-field dedication.
Yeah, so, Crystal Baker is here with Salt County Lacrosse as well, if there's any, questions on it, but I kind of gave the synopsis here. We would like to dedicate a, previous Alcoa 40 multi-purpose field, and some of you probably remember it as the football field at Alcoa 40, to be named the Campbell Lacrosse Field, home of Salt County Lacrosse. Salt County Lacrosse that we've been working with for the last 2 years, they, along with Campbell, have contributed over $25,000 to that field, as well as over 200 hours of volunteer hours during that time. And it's dedicated as a lacrosse field. It would be the first in the state of Arkansas. And so that's something that we're very grateful for the relationship that we have with Crystal and her husband Adam, who are running founders.
Yep.
The founders, running.
No.
They do it, yeah. And so and I'll be honest, they are wonderful partners. We are currently in discussions of extending their agreement instead of being year to year, which they have been so for the last 2 years, to a 5-year agreement, like what we currently do with the BAA, VSA, and Central Arkansas Soccer, because they've invested a lot of money and time in that field. If you haven't been out there in a while, like it is, I recommend going out there. We've got backstop netting on each end now, so nothing gets lost. And once the parkway opens, no lacrosse balls will be hitting cars going by on the road. They paid for and installed all of that on their own. We have turf. Creases, thank you. So the creases where the goal is.
Yes.
I'm learning lacrosse a little bit. I don't know much about it, but it's the part that really gets worn down the most. And so they installed turf creases there. The field looks amazing. We overseeded it this past year. And so other than those 2 areas that would get worn, which have now been taken care of, you know, it's great, and then so, you know, we're hopeful of the commitment that we can make to them and them to us as well for 5 years, that opens up a lot of doors for, some more things that we can share with them as well. I mentioned before that a lot of you know it as the football field. I have talked to Matt Order, president of the BAA, and they are, you know, they support this as well. BAA tackle football hasn't used the field for the last few years. They now use Hornet Stadium for their games, and they run most of their practices, I think, on baseball outfields. And so, so they're completely fine with it.
Will it be just for lacrosse?
So it will be lacrosse first. And so, I mean, I talked with Adam and Crystal, and they're okay. Like, if they don't have programming or something going on, and someone needs to use it or something, you know, like, it can still be a shared space, but it will be a lacrosse field first for their program. One thing we're also working on, with them is, you know, the area that's kind of adjacent to that I think probably was originally supposed to be another softball field at Alcoa Park. It's been in pretty rough shape. They've gone out and been able to level some of that and cut it back, and it's a decent practice space now. We're working on trying to level the rest of that. That is something that in the master plan you saw, like the long-term plan was for some extra pads there for practice purposes. And that's some low-hanging fruit that we can accomplish with it. You know, it's leveling the ground, putting a little bit of dirt down, putting a little bit of seed down, getting some growth. And so that's something that we're working together with them currently to expand our space. Now, there's no lights there, but it would still give, you know, extra space for them for practice, as well as if other groups in the community need to use just some open green space for practice or things.
Yeah, and to help grow the program, so currently, Talk County Lacrosse is high school teams. So we have high school girls and boys, we have a boys varsity and a junior varsity team. But to keep up with the Northwest Arkansas teams and other private schools in the area, we really need to work on building a feeder program for our youth. And so youth season coincides with our high school season, so we kind of need to expand and just think about the future. Youth fields are a little bit smaller, so we could probably play 2 games on those, you know, on that spare area at some point. And we could play 2 games on the high school field, on 5-ways, you know, they'll do 7v7. High school lacrosse is 10v10 for boys and 12v12 for girls. So it's the entire length of the finger football field, high school lacrosse. So we really need to work. Our goal is to have youth lacrosse in 2025, 4th through 7th, 8th, 5th grade, to try to build our high school program. I mean, this was our first year not on probation for National State Lacrosse League for the girls team, and our very first year to have a boys team at all, and both of the teams from right here went to the state tournament. So we made it to the semifinals. We both got beat in the semifinals. Our girls finished 12-4, our boys finished 9-5. I mean, we made a good run, and we are invested in it, and since it would be the only dedicated lacrosse league, we have teams. There's a team in our league that's actually from Shreveport, because the Shreveport girls, they do not have other girls lacrosse teams in the state of Louisiana, so they play in Arkansas. Well, the Northwest Arkansas teams don't like to drive to Shreveport, because that's 6-7 hours for them, but they will drive to Bryant. So we hosted 4 or 5 games here in Bryant, and all of those teams stayed here in Bryant to play, because they would drive here and play on Saturday, Sunday, get their league games in, and then go back to their respective work.
But in that facility, I guess, I mean,
There are lights.
Yes.
There are lights. They're the old ones. You know, at some point, we're going to have to look at.
But I'm just curious, I didn't know.
They work.
You gotta do that,
Yeah.
and a good concession stand.
That's all new, right?
There's no concession
Oh, so not just that.
But we're looking at some.
We're looking at,
Okay, sorry, well, that's one of my reasons I'll call. Well, you're supposed to hit me.
Do we need a dedicated motion?
Yeah, so what we would like is to make a motion to support this, the dedication of this. That's it.
All right, we got a motion second, any more discussion? All in favor of making that recommendation, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, any opposed? It passes.
Okay, I will keep you guys updated. We're currently looking at that. They do an event, boys versus girls game, kind of end of the season event on, the schedule for May 24th. We're looking at doing something with this, just kind of, I know Chris was working with the chamber to maybe do a ribbon cutting, things like that, but, we're looking at possibly doing something before that, which would, so that late afternoon, early evening of May 24th. But once we have those, plans ironed out, I'll keep you guys in the loop.
I apologize, you did ask for questions, though. I was just, one other thing that I thought about was, with this dedication, are we gonna, like, put something out there, like a marquee or?
That is currently being discussed, yeah. So, I know the mayor's been working with them as well on exactly how, we want to do that.
All right.
the boys versus girls game is a lot of fun, you guys. So this is like a tradition for our kids to play, and so the boys play, I don't know if you guys are familiar with lacrosse at all. Boys lacrosse is full contact, they wear pads, upper pads, shorts, they have sticks, obviously, the helmets, and they're full contact. Girls is not full contact, they just wear goggles and have sticks, and their pockets are much shallower, so the ball can run out, but it's not regular appropriately. So for the boys versus girls game, they swap sticks, and they play girls' rules. And so our girls have won the last 2 seasons. And we got them a salt cup, so it's this giant obnoxious trophy, and we put the score on it, and the winner gets their name on the plaque, and so it's a big deal. Yeah.
Members of the committee are not expected to play.
No, but you guys need to cheer them on.
That was good.
Item number 9, I'll turn this over to Rebecca. Y'all remember Rebecca? She was here a few months ago, our grant coordinator. We have been talking about for a while, lighting for the area here at Bishop Park. It obviously gets very dark at night, and so, Rebecca's been working to try to, find something to help us there, and so I'll turn it over to her and let her, explain a little bit what this RWCAP grant is.
Yeah, so, I came to this position in September and met with the Parks Department, and this was their number 1 priority. And then a couple of months ago, Jack Mosley and Gordon O'Rourke came to me and met with me about the same issue, and just a lot of concern from the citizens. The RDOT grant is, open right now. It's due the 31st of this month. And I've talked to, somebody that works there, and because these roads are outlined with sidewalks, we can technically apply for this grant to light the sidewalks. So we are wanting to put forth our application to do that. This grant is an 80/20 grant. We are currently waiting on the quote, so I can't give you exact number. This quote, or this, grant goes up to $500,000.
So, yeah, if you're unfamiliar, this is not a parking, we explain like that, those are hard to come by. This is a light sidewalk. And so what we would be requesting to do is light the sidewalks here at Bishop Park, which fortunately we have a lot of sidewalks. So if you've been out there, all of the parking areas are actually surrounded by sidewalks. And so, I do believe, I talked to a few lighting experts that feel like if we are able to light the perimeter of these sidewalks, that would help tremendously with our issues here at the park. So, So yeah, so what we're asking for is, recommendation from you guys to continue to move forward, and, we'll be asking, if you guys recommend it, we'll be asking for council, the same from council at the end of the month to apply for this grant.
I'm ready to motion.
Flag never.
Yay. Finally.
Been a long time coming.
Yes.
So, and it's a very competitive grant, but I mean, yeah, I think we also have a good case here for it, so. And Rebecca will do a great job.
Don't let us down.
Don't let us down.
Don't break it, don't get it.
So, we got a motion to second, any further discussion?
I'm just curious, the 80-20 ratio, what is the 20, what is it? I mean, what's the responsibility or liability, whatever, as it relates to, I guess the 20% falls where, on who?
On city council, or,
So that was my other thing.
That's it, your backyard.
What is my back?
That's 20%.
stand on your money tree.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
By two council members asking about it too, I figured they got.
Yeah, I'm serious.
This one, yeah.
We've been working, trying to find something everywhere, she's, came along right now. Problem is it's so expensive, so you can't have overhead. It's gotta be underground. Boring, you got this, you got that. We're gonna get it done, one way or another.
All in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No, motion passes. All right, committee comments.
I got some.
All right, sir.
You stuck here on time, didn't you? So we're looking at,
And here we go.
yeah, so we're looking right now in the middle of May, and we're opening up the, pool Memorial Day weekend. Yes, so, I would like, and we just spent, I forget how much money the council approved to re-plaster the pool. I would like to assign you a task, sir, to get a price for the cover, that way we can save our investment. And go ahead and have that for the June, so we can vote on it in the June, and hopefully take it to the council in July or August, just so that gives us enough lead time to get it ordered and installed when the pool closes Labor Day weekend, right? So, that's one thing I got. Another thing is, I like what you did with Ebony today, bringing her in for the basketball. So, I would think, I know you hinted on it earlier, but I think we need to start keeping some of our organizations accountable. So I would like to propose that softball season's coming to an end, baseball season's coming to an end, lacrosse season's coming to an end, and, soccer, wind soccer, when they come to an end.
I mean, those spring seasons are all kind of they wrap up on school stuff, but yeah, I can definitely reach out.
So I think if we could start each month, like Ebony did this one, give us a status report on what each organization is doing.
Monthly or just what they say?
You think like,
Like the end of the season, so like next month is what, June? So next month we could pick baseball. July we could do softball. August we could do lacrosse.
I can definitely.
And then we could look at football. Are they a part of our organization? Well, it's part of the BAA. So here in October, November, when is football season over? Yeah. October, November?
But yes, I mean, I can.
They could do that.
So that we don't have them all kind of the same night, I can look at putting.
Yeah, don't do them all the same night, but I would like to have them,
I'll reach out.
that way we know what's going on with all the organizations to keep.
I think that, you know, once a year, the organization coming in and giving a report, yeah, I'll reach out to them and see. And club, did one, and,
Right, they did one 2 months ago.
and, or,
And I'd like to
they
see
were
it
the Boys
for-
and Girls Club then, it's Bryant Youth Association, but they did one in February.
And I'd like to see it for the other organizations we have.
They're close. I could do the senior center too.
I mean, I don't think it would hurt that we could.
The only difference I see though is those are volunteer led, whereas everything position.
But they still pay towards,
Well,
they're under a contract,
Yeah,
right?
I think those groups would be happy to come in once a year. I know lacrosse shoots and
We would love to.
That, you didn't stop them from coming in more than
I
that.
know.
But I, you know, it's,
Just so we know where our numbers are with the community.
and I think that Amanda's, the longest tenure here, but, you know, we used to have the associations, I feel like they were here every meeting. Now, a lot of it was that,
maybe
during softball, they weren't here, but.
before and after, same with baseball, yeah.
yeah, and so I think that, the relationship, we've really, had a great relationship the last few years, and so a lot of times when things are good, you don't really hear as much. But I think coming in and asking to, hey, just give us a report on that, I think they'd all be very happy to do that. I'll kind of start working with them on maybe putting a calendar or something together to
Yeah.
try to have something.
Yeah, just keep like their updates on like
Yeah.
everything to do with the numbers.
Well, and it was good whenever you look at, whenever all of the stuff was master planned and trying to do the sales tax and all the AMP, it was good when they all showed up that night, because then everybody sees each other's support, you know, with Bart.
Something we might want to consider when we do that is to provide them with the kind of information we want. And if we leave it open, give a report, we're gonna have somebody come and give one like Boys and Girls Club did. It was excellent, it was very eye-opening, you know, with their numbers, it was quite comprehensive. Might have another come that, you know, gives us
We
just
had,
the bare
we had
thing.
10 teams and.
Yeah, 'cause I have no clue how many people play soccer,
Yeah.
and use the fields, baseball, the softball. And I think it would be beneficial for us and the citizens of Bryan to know what's up.
I don't need to be constrictive in what they know exactly, but this
Right.
kind of information we're looking for, I think would make it easy for them. You know, what do you want? Good idea.
Everything gonna go to the full pack, aquatic center? Yeah, I'm here now, though, so.
Yeah, it's,
All kinds of questions.
it is fortunately not needed right now.
Right.
It is going to, I'm glad you did, I should have asked that. We've hired Batson back months ago, Batson Engineering, to do a report. I spoke to Mark White with Batson yesterday, and I should have the rough draft of that report next week, and then, we can move forward. Now, their report is comprehensive on not just the pool pack, but also the ability to pool that facility. We're discovering what we've known, it wasn't an easy solution. And to be able to fully cool that facility will be a very costly, solution. But we are looking at some alternative measures and everything. But once we have that, we'll be able to move forward with, looking for how we would like to try to fund the replacement of the pool pack. I expect to need to get one more year out of that one. And it's gonna take a little bit of work to get one more year out of it, but that's kind of where we've been for a while now, so. But right now, the roof's open and it's summertime, so unfortunately, we don't really need it.
Last thing, what about, I know the gutter's completed, we've gotten a lot of rain, have we seen any problems or
No.
anything on the courts?
No, it's been, and, okay, I don't, you know, yeah, come on.
It's like kind of valley
Yes.
floor.
Right, that's right, and it's rained a lot, so.
So, we've done, I mean, yeah, that's been an issue for so long now, we've done so many different things, hopefully we finally gotten there with it. But right now, we're fortunate, okay.
I've been out on a couple of downpours, walked around the building, all working really well. Thank you, guys, on top of it. Thank you for honoring it. It was a great time.
Well,
Go ahead, Lynn, I'll let you talk.
Come on, Lynn.
I'll let you-
Not as simply, Cody, simple observation was, I did think the director's report was good, so I welcome that, and curious, I thought it was good. I read all that before I came today, and it gave me a lot of insight on.
I can't say, our former director.
I know, but I didn't.
Our former director actually assigned the new director to do this. Like, well, where have you been doing all this?
you just doing your job.
Yeah,
Go.
yeah, that's right.
I was going to say, some people are good, well,
Yeah.
be sure and tell them.
Any other comment? If not, how about a motion to adjourn?
Cody already did.
Already did. Yeah, we are.
We are.
We are adjourned.